Hi, everybody. Thank you, Ollie, for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm Vivian. I'm a grateful alcoholic. And by God's grace in this beautiful program and divine providence, I'm here. And I see that Mildred is here. And I just need to find Mildred's notes here because that'll be like perfect. And so anyway, I love if you haven't attended Mildred's spirituality classes. It's phenomenal. It's out of this, literally out of the world, and I highly recommend it. But I am so grateful that I get to participate in something that the 11th step is absolutely, well, my sobriety date is January 3rd, 1994. I have a home group, and that's the Zoom group, Sunday morning and Monday through Friday spiritual meeting that meets at 9 o'clock. And we are totally Zoom, and I couldn't be more happy about Zoom and doing Zoom. And Zoom has revolutionized my whole sobriety and my recovery. I've met these beautiful people here, there, and all over the world. I mean, I'm convinced that the more that I participate in my program through the world of Zoom now, because it's so convenient and it's so open and it's world affiliated now. We're not just stuck in my little local backyard and hearing the message, but not like this. I'm able to hear Mildred. I'm able to hear Kent C. I'm able to hear people that I couldn't hear before. And that has so enhanced my recovery in ways that I can hardly explain. It's like the more that I participate in this program, because I do Zoom every day. It's just simple and it's just easy. And I just make that a priority in my life. And I've been taught to suit up, show up, and to participate in my recovery, because there is nobody going to do it for me. And so I've been taught what to do and how to do it. And I'm so grateful that I was taught how to look at what my life was like, what happened to change me, and what I'm like today is a direct result of the spiritual principles as outlined in this book. And I'm all about the black print on the white page in the blue book. I'm totally in that book. If it's not in the book, I really can't. But I just keep coming back because I'm just like a sponge. I just soak up so much more because there is so much more to this. There is not a drive-by where I one and done. The more I participate, the more that I seek God, the more the power of God is revealed to me. And so I just keep doing the things you taught me to do. And I keep suiting up and listening to powerful speakers share their experience, strength, and hope. And you see, that's what hooked me in the very beginning. I came for the differences. I think I came because I was dying on the inside and living the way I was dying. And I just, my life was full of terror, bewilderment, frustration, and despair. When I read that, I totally identified with that. I left to my devices, I wreak havoc in the lives of others. I abandoned my husband. I abandoned a marriage. I abandoned relationships. I abandoned my children. I end up, my little 9-year-old daughter dies in a car accident with me as a direct result of my alcoholism. I end up with manslaughter charges, and I end up on a gurney in an emergency room dying myself, and have this amazing spiritual experience where God revealed to me it wasn't time for me to go yet. And I drank for another 13 years round the clock to just blot out the misery and the terror and the just couldn't live with the guilt and the shame and the remorse around all of that. And what happened for me is that God stepped in and revealed to me on numerous occasions. I can look back in hindsight and see where God was thoroughly, totally present in my life. But under the guise of alcohol and other things, I can't see what I can't see until I came here and got honest. And I came here and you told me about me and my problem. You gave me the insight to see stuff I couldn't see or understand or even believe, really. but I could see God through you. I could see God's grace all over you and how you were recovering from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And I got to watch you recover. And it was your words, God speaking through you in your words, and your actions spoke louder than the words. I got to see people I used to use with and drink with and do what we do. And I got to see them be sober and be happy about it. And I didn't know there was a way out. You know, I think God finally heard my silent screams of desperation. And all I wanted to do was die, but couldn't do it. And thank God, God had a whole nother plan for me. So, you know, when the power is revealed, I love the 11th step. And it's very interesting how it all came to for me. And I go to spiritual classes. I attend wherever I can because I am never done. And I have a built-in forgetter. And I've been around 30 years. So I want to tell you that it's easy to forget if I'm not connecting on that power and that source on a daily basis. And how do I do that? Well, I do it very simply. I was told to say the 3rd, the 7th, and the 11th step prayer every morning. I was told to get silence, to be still and in solitude and seek a God of my understanding. And the more I seek that God of my understanding, not yours, but God of my understanding, the more God is revealed to me in all kinds of ways. And I could never see that before. But sober, I get to witness that. I get to be a part of this miracle. I call this the steps, the course in miracles, because it is. I mean, we come from death, dying, and everything that goes with the horrors of our past to live a life that is worth living, and that we get to be even an example of what to do here when we do that. And if I do that and I keep doing that, I get to share that experience in the actions that I take. It's not just, I hear a lot of people speak, but I watch what you do. I was taught that recovery is in your feet. It's not in your head. It's not educational, it's experiential. And the more I apply myself, and the more I do these things, we don't really care if you like it. I don't think, you know, I've had people say to me, yes, I don't even care about God. God was the first person on my resentment list. I was so mad at a God that I knew at that point in my life that I was over it, I was done with it, and I had written that God off. And as well, I should have. But I can tell you honestly, I don't think God cared that much, because God continued to keep working in my life anyway, with or without my approval. It's kind of interesting when you look back and you can see those miracles anyway. And you know, and it was you know, miracle after miracle after miracle. And what happened is that I just kept coming back. I kept seeing recovery in you. I kept seeing, actually, today I know it was, I kept seeing the God in you speaking to the God within me. And that's what held me here. It wasn't this, you know, I didn't have PhDs. I just know that I felt something different. I felt my whole being move in such a way that I sought after that. I love that statement, spiritus, I get that confused, but you know what I'm trying to say. Mildred, you can help me on that one. Spiritus, contra. Anyway, Carl Jung said it. And we drowned out that spirit with alcohol so much that we couldn't see the light of day. Without that, there's a shot at this thing. And the more that I'm excited about it. I mean, I got here and I was going, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to say. There's so much to be said. I don't know where to even start, because my life has just been revolutionized by a set of principles I didn't believe in. And I watched you do it, and I watched what happened when you did it. And then I wanted what you had. It wasn't that I was wanting to have this for me, but through osmosis, I kept coming back, and that transformation just sort of seeped right in, even without my approval, because I didn't drink and I didn't use. I just kept coming back. And that's been the exciting adventure of my life since I got here. I haven't found it necessary. And I love what a friend of mine says. He says, there is nothing so bad in my life that a drink wouldn't totally destroy further. And there is nothing so good in my life that a drink wouldn't just completely mess up. So I don't even think about the drink anymore. It's not a part of the obsession has been removed. It was removed the day I stepped across the threshold of Alcoholics Anonymous. A miracle occurred. I don't understand it. I don't have to understand it. I can only tell you that I've never wanted a drink since the day I stepped in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, there's God working wonders in my life, miracles in my life, and I couldn't understand it. But it just continued. But I can tell you, after sitting around in the rooms for 3 or 4 months with no sponsor, with untreated alcoholism, I picked up another substance. I didn't pick up alcohol, but it was only a matter of time. And but I kept coming. The only thing I did right, and I hear people poo-poo this all the time. I'm sorry. I was told just keep coming back because people knew what I was up to, even without me saying a word. They said, Vivian, just keep coming back and don't drink between meetings. And, that's good for a little while. But if you don't pick up the kit of tools so readily laid at our feet and begin to work this process in your life, you will not experience the joys, the happiness, the incredible life we have. Is my life perfect? Hardly not. Is it? It's extraordinary. I mean, I get to do things I just can't even believe. I get to travel and go places and meet people like you guys in all different places. I just love this way of life. It's a privileged way of life. I call it that Course in Miracles because it's a miracle every day. If I suit up and show up and I don't have a drink today and I'm happy about it. And that's a whole paradigm shift from where I came from because all I wanted to do was check out. I'm the kind of drunk that has suicide attempts and psych wards and all kinds of problems, terror, frustration, trauma, trail of tears. That's what alcohol did to me. And it didn't do much for me, except it led me down a road of death and destruction. Who wants that? None of us wanted that, but I couldn't stop until I came to the room, stepped across that threshold, and then the obsession was removed. And then you began to, God began to work the miracles through you to me. And I began to see that all the steps being worked. And I began to hear the message of hope and recovery in you. That's what got me to where I am today. The 11th step is the integral part of my life. I start with it in the morning. I finish with it at night. I say that 3rd, 7th, and 11th step prayer because that's what I've been taught to do. Why? Because I get results. I don't know about you. This is not just like reading an ingredient label on the back of a can of Spam. I mean, I'm telling you, when I read this stuff and say these things, I'm actually connecting to a power. And I don't have to, I don't have to know what that power is. I just know that it is. I just know that it works wonders in my soul and it fills gaping holes of doubt and remorse and guilt and shame and all those things I had to live with before I got here and turned it over. And I just love, I came from being that cold-hearted, cold-blooded indifference to life to a life worth living, to a life of beyond my understanding. And I hope I always stay here. And I know if I keep doing what I'm doing, I don't have to worry about that because I'm not going to quit. I'm not a good sprinter here in AA. I'm a marathon runner. I'm sticking with it. I don't want to quit because it feels better than anything I've ever done. This stuff delivers, Step 11, here we ask God for inspiration, intuitive thought, or decision. I don't know. Did you think to do that today? I did, because you know why? I get it when I ask for it. It's always kind of amazing to me how if I forget to ask for it, it's kind of like wait, something's not quite right. But I just stop and I pause and I pray and then I proceed. And I began to have, insight into things that I couldn't even be aware of before. I know that this thing works because I've worked it. I know that what happens when I don't do it, it doesn't work. It's just really that simple. And I keep wanting, and I come from the land of more. If this feels good, then let's do some more. So I do that. One of my favorite things to do here is that Golden Key by FOTS. It's a quick sort of it's an instant prayer meditation. Boom, a golden key of situation. And then I think of God, thoughts of God. And if I keep getting out of me and get into God with whatever's going on, or if nothing's going on through the day, my day goes better. I mean, it doesn't have to be, floodlights and all this other stuff. It's just good. I feel good. I'm just leveled out. I love that. It's not extraordinary anymore. It's just pretty, I expect it. I do it and I know it's going to work because it's worked so much. The miracles in doing this step, really all of them, I just think it's one big step with 12 beautiful parts that flow one into the other. And it just gives me the insight to move into the next step and to do them all in a day. These are daily designs for living. And I don't hesitate to do these things anymore because it's just given me such a life that I couldn't imagine not doing it. And it's I have a fatal progressive disease. So if I have a progressive, reliable solution, then I know. And I love the statement. I heard it once, and I can't remember, maybe Mildred will remember, but there's only one problem that is the problem of all problems. That is conscious separation from God. And there's only one solution that is the solution of all solution. That's conscious contact with God. Over and over again in the book, the stories, the experience of people who came before us, who just simply did these simple things, never returned to the life they had because they kept doing what? These things, sought through prayer and meditation. And I'll tell you a little about how I got a funny God, and I love the humor that comes with this God of my understanding. And so I had God on my resentment list because, anybody that would allow the things that happened to me as a little girl that should have never happened. And then the things that happened as a result of my alcoholism, that should have never happened. And all I did was have a punishing God. But then I came to know a loving God, as a result. And here's how. My sponsor said to me simply one day when I was doing my fifth step with her, she said, Vivian, God is good and good is God. If it's not good, it's not of God, it's of man's world. And so that opened up that whole prejudice that I had built up in my whole being about the God of my misunderstanding. And it just opened up a whole realm of something more extraordinary that I can't barely explain to you. I just know that the crack broke open that day. And I understood. I understood what she said, and I've never questioned that since. And at that time, I had started, I was raised Catholic, parochial school. I taught catechism. I know all that stuff. And I walked away because I just thought they were pompous and had too much money. And I didn't like the clothes and all this stuff. And I thought I wanted to be a nun, but I surely wouldn't have lasted very long in that establishment. I surely would never have lasted probably anyway, so it doesn't matter. But so I went out and started seeking, because I really think as alcoholics, we're spiritual seekers, and we don't know that we are, but we are. And I started practicing Native American spiritual concepts and beliefs, and I studied with medicine women. I studied with some shamans, and I embraced that whole understanding it, and I incorporated it into my life in a very big way. And it worked for me and still works today, as a matter of fact. But at some point after I did my 5 through 9, and I went and stood at the grave and had this amazing spiritual experience as I read a letter to my daughter for the first time since I had never been there before. And I read this letter, and something enormous cracked open again. And I felt the presence of God, and I felt the presence of my daughter. And my daughter would say something to me that was extraordinary. She said, "Mom, I have a life, and so do you. Now go on out there and live it." Now, this is my 9-year-old daughter who died in a car accident with me, and I'm hearing this message, and it just blew my mind. And I know today that this is what I'm supposed to be doing right here, talking about this extraordinary, amazing experience that I had at the gravesite that just opened up this dying, withered up old soul. And I also felt the light of God. I felt forgiveness, and I felt something that I've never felt before. And right above me, an eagle was circling. And I know today that that means a return of one's power. And that was just an extraordinary experience. Would have never happened if I hadn't worked the step. Would have never happened if I hadn't suited up and showed up in spite of myself. And from that, I went on to seek other things. You know, I studied a little Buddhism. I got into a little Sikhism, and then a little Sufism. It all just fascinated me. I just was like a sieve. I couldn't get enough of this stuff. And I kept going out there and reading books and counseling with people who were educated in these beliefs. And I finally found that I started going to Unity Church, and a minister had come there from New York who was Jewish at one point, and then went to study with Paramahansa Yogananda, a Hindu, and a prophet. I mean, he was a saint. And he started speaking about Paramahansa Yogananda. And I just fell in love with I was at a point where it just all made so much sense to me. So I embraced these teachings. I read the book, Autobiography of a Yogi, changed my life. And so I was practicing these amazing mantras and these amazing meditations that I was taught to do in a formal fashion. I would sit in the lotus position, and I would breathe in a certain way, and I would do certain things and say these certain mantras. And you know, I did that, and time after time after time, and nothing really happened, but I felt pretty good about it. So I kept doing it. I just kept doing it. Practice. And one day I'm sitting in the lotus position, and I've done all the necessary things to prepare for this time with God. And I'm just sitting there, and the words come to me, you know, and I'm just going to say it like it is. I try not to cuss, you guys, but this is exactly what I said. I said, this shit's not working. And boom, right before me appeared Jesus Christ in full form, just as you might imagine. And he was so real that it just blew my mind. And he leaned down and he kissed me on my forehead. And it changed my life. And I said, this stuff works. And it was in that contact, that conscious contact of taking that time away from just the mundane life that I had been living in. And I from the tragedies and from all the problems that I brought into the world, I saw something different. I just had this amazing spiritual experience because I took the time to suit up and to show up. And God was revealed to me in a way that was impacted my life forever. Now, that's because I took the time to do that. And that was in sobriety. Now, I'm still working the steps, but this is all a direct result of 5 through 9, and then continue to take personal inventory, and then 11 sought through prayer and meditation. Continue is my mantra now. And am I perfect at it? No. I mean, there are days when I do my 3rd, 7th, and 11th step prayer, and I go, come on, God, showing up for duty, and I'm on the beam. And when I slow down and I just give God a minute to get in here, it's so purely amazing experiences. I've had too many to even, I should write them all down, I guess, but they've just been one after the other, because I of myself, the only thing I can do right is to continue to keep doing what you tell me to do here. And if you tell me that if I do these things, that I will be set free. And I'm telling you, I have been set free as a direct result of doing everything you've asked me to do. Not perfectly, but if you're a doer here, you're going to get some results. It's just going to be purely out of this world and absolutely amazing. It's destined to happen if you do it. It's designed to do that. It's designed to give us a transformation beyond our understanding. If I understand it, it's coming from me. So I have a God of my misunderstanding, and we have this amazing relationship. I was standing in a circle at one point after this experience happened, and and out of the side of my vision, I could see Jesus standing there. And he asked me to call him Jesu. So Jesu was standing there. And I simply said, in the humorous way we interact, I said, those robes are pretty outdated, and it's about time you upgraded your outfit. I don't know why these things come to my head, but they did. And instantly, Jesus was transformed in a pair of jeans and a flip-flops and a white shirt. And we both just laughed, and it all just transformed within my little head. And that's the kind of relationship I have with the God of my misunderstanding, is I get to have an entertaining God. I get to have a supporting God. I get to have someone who guides me and directs me and comforts me. And I don't live in abject fear anymore. I don't suffer from untreated alcoholism any longer, because I've been set free. And it's these steps, they're the treasure map, but they're not the treasure. The treasure is what happens when you do these things. And I, for one, am never going to stop. And I just hope that you will embrace doing as much as you can to have an experience beyond your understanding, because it will happen. It's destined to happen. It's written to happen. You can't do this and not have it happen. And it's the most amazing journey I've had the privilege of experiencing in my life. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to share that with you tonight. And I think I'm done, Ali. I don't know what else I could share here. Thanks for letting me share.